Hi everyone guys, Jonathan here as usual. This is a video that I've actually been meaning to make for a while now, where I take a step back and look at my channel and try to figure out what's working and what's not. These are of course thoughts that I had before and that I have regularly, but I never shared these points with you guys until now. Let's start with a fact. My most viewed video ever is in Italian, and it's about being bald at 20 years old. That's when I started to lose my hair. And it has 38,000 views. And I filmed it back in 2020, like a couple months before moving to Lisbon, back when my channel was in Italian, because I was living in Italy and my channel was in Italian. And I think that it worked in general because it's a very broad and relatable topic, and a lot of people, especially males, but not only, because alopecia is something that is spread all over the world, men, women, everyone in between. So it's relatable, and being in my native language as well helped a bit with the expressions, with the humor, with all this kind of stuff, you know. Unfortunately, the photography videos that I made around that time, always in Italian, have performed really poorly, and that's why I think that the language is not that much of an issue, you know. Then we get to the second most viewed video, and that's where we start to see a pattern, but I'll come back to the pattern later. So this video is about Leica, and it contains a money reference because it's called the $10 Leica. And it's definitely a clickbait title, because actually in the video I talk about my experience with the Lumix Digicam that somehow has a Leica branded lens on the front, basically. That's it. The video in general has good pacing, the photos are nice, and it fits the vibe of my channel especially, showing as usual that you can get solid results even with non-expensive gear. The third most viewed video is always in Italian, but it talks about a device that adds YouTube that adds Bluetooth to older cars. And like the hair loss video, it's practical and useful, so it makes sense that it's up there basically. From the fourth video onwards, everything is in English. One about street photography in Lisbon, and oddly enough it was the only one performing that well. Another one mentioning Leica again, and here we can see the pattern again, because I was talking about buying and selling a Leica T. Then one about shooting with other lens, that is another clickbait title, because I was talking about pinhole lenses, lenses with a little hole in the middle. Then a cinematic short that I filmed 5 years ago in the Italian mountains, finally a cinematic short. And then one where people basically in the comments insulted me and gave me dislikes, because basically the title the title was concert photography with a smartphone, and probably someone was expecting a sort of tutorial on how to take pictures at a concert with your smartphone. Basically I was just telling the story of why and how I went to the concert, and I showed the pictures. So I don't know honestly why people were so angry. And then the last one is a video that I shot with Orlando James, that is a very famous influencer on TikTok and Instagram, and I collaborated with him for a shoot a couple years ago, and then I shot a video about the whole experience, and that video went pretty well because there was his name basically in the title. I think that it was because of this. Looking at these videos, in general, I see that the Italian ones worked when they covered broad or relatable subjects. That is something that you can find on every general or anything goes YouTube channel, in my opinion. When it comes to photography, what seems to grab attention are either weird things like shooting with other lens or shooting with a phone at a concert, even though similar videos haven't always worked, or content involving Leica, especially when paired with money references, like 10 euros, 100 euros, 1000 euros, this kind of stuff, you know. Over the years, I made a a lot of videos with strange premises, like taking 100 photos in 100 seconds, going on vacation with only a prime lens, or using like a tiny camera with a giant lens. For example, one of the latest POVs that I uploaded was a video in which I spoke 6 languages, because I speak 6 languages, like 5 to 6 languages, you know, and it flopped, like totally didn't go well, and I still don't understand why, because in my opinion it's a very strange premise. It's something that it's not usual in my opinion, like doing photography, doing street photography, filming the process and speaking 6 languages. But still, you know, when it comes to Leica and money talk, I've seen enough of a pattern to think that it could be a solid strategy, you know. The only issue, a modern Leica body costs basically 4 times my entire gear setup. Yes, because my kit is very, very budget friendly. So it doesn't make sense for me to invest in one, especially because content creation in this specific moment of my life is not my main source of money. I mean, it's not my full-time job, and in this specific moment I don't even have a full-time job because I'm unemployed. If you have watched some of the last videos, I've talked like briefly about what happened with my old job, and yeah, so not the right moment to spend 5,000 euros on a camera, you know. That said, I'm not ruling out the idea of getting my hands on a cheaper Leica like someday, partly out of curiosity and partly to see if this pattern works, you know. For many years I stuck with Lumix and occasionally Olympus, mainly for lenses because my camera bodies have always been made by Lumix, because basically because I always liked them, because of size, costs and habit probably also. But I often wondered, like would using trendier gear like Fuji or Sony especially, would it have helped my growth, my channel growth, like in the last years? Because I've always been a Lumix fan, and I would have loved to collaborate with them, but unfortunately the numbers just aren't there, and I think that I'm not very appealing as a content creator for a brand like Lumix, you know. But it's still a goal of mine, and one day it might happen. I don't know, guys. I hope so, but who knows. The reality, though, is that other brands, like Leica, for example, that I mentioned in the beginning of the video, are more algorithm friendly, I think. Of course, none of this gives you like a magic key to success, but it does help you understanding like your journey, understanding what's working and what's not working. In my case, unfortunately, what seems to work is wealth, luxury, the unattainable, things that people can't afford but still love watching online, you know. Money as a proxy for value in some ways, and I'm happy that some of these videos have gone well, especially talking about Leica, but I won't lie, I wish others had done just as well, especially because I think that photography can be a genuinely democratic art form, and that you can do great things also without spending a fortune. But as with everything, it's easier to believe that we can't do something because of gear. And don't get me wrong, it depends on the case. Sometimes it may be true, but in most cases photography, like especially in the very early stages, can be something that we do just for ourselves, to feel good, to get outside, to just discover a new passion, you know. And brands and social platforms are pushing us towards one direction, but in the end, I mean, at the end of the day, we are the ones opening our wallets. So it's up to us to be responsible with our purchases. And I'm not saying that expensive gear is not nice or useful, like not at all. But there's a difference between personal enjoyment that doesn't require sacrifice and the external pressure to always have the latest gadget. Something that, as we have seen, often gets confused with necessity, even if it means going into debt or cutting into savings that should have gone like elsewhere. And I'm not trying to play Father Jonathan with a vow of poverty or something like that, but I do think that it's worth reflecting on this from time to time, because at the end of the day we choose which direction to go in: the path of never enough or the path of what do I actually need. And these days that's a very valuable reflection to have, in my opinion. So guys, thanks for watching this video, and if you want to leave some comments in the comment section, you're welcome. I think that it's an interesting topic, and if not, nothing, and see you in the next video. Bye guys.